loved being on social media, and he did not. Over time, I talked him into being on my social media, and we saw how well the videos did of us together, so we just continued. But it was something that I was most definitely much more passionate about, but he no longer wants this lifestyle. He doesn't want to be recognized every single time he goes out in public. Quote-unquote fame is not what everybody wants. We no longer have any kind of privacy, but that just comes with the territory of being a social media influencer, and I'm okay with that. He is not. I hope you guys can understand. I know it's going to be hard because a lot of you follow us for our couples content, but I will continue to make content just like I did when I first started. And as far as the ring, you guys have noticed it's been off my finger for a couple weeks now, and that's just something that I want to keep private right now.
And that was all fine until the most random person who's the definition of the tool that farmers use to shape soil decided to throw herself into this situation. And she did this because apparently she's an S worker, and the husband of the gel lady started talking to her for some reason. So this woman is using that as her moment to finally get a drop of attention.
I don't have a lot of time to say what I want to say because I am currently evacuating for a hurricane, but I do want to kind of touch on it.
That's actually hilarious. Getting some basic level attention is way more important to her than actually evacuating her family for a hurricane. Some people's priorities are absolutely messed up.
First, I want to say that I'm not blasting this girl's business. She is quite literally blasting herself. And I'm not coming for her for crying on the internet because honestly, who hasn't? But I sure as hell have. Being a mom is quite hard sometimes, but it's also the biggest blessing of your life. And I'm not about to see this girl do it all alone over something that she thinks is bigger than what it is. That's my opinion. I don't know what else is going on in their home. I don't know what side of the story he gave her, what he has said or not. And if she doesn't want to reach out, that's fine. I'm not the kind of woman that says, don't come at me as a woman. If you have a question, feel free to ask, and I will decide if I want to answer or not. Now, while the first time she came at me was not crazy and I did respect it, I did get a little when I started seeing things like, I'm gonna raise my daughter to be da-da-da-da, when all I have is daughters.
I feel like this is exactly what main character syndrome is, because the gel lady hasn't mentioned her at all. But because she made a video of how she would raise her daughters, she chose to take offense to that and is, in return, airing out her dirty laundry to the public. To me, it sounds a lot more like an unresolved internal issue rather than the gel lady coming for this random woman that no one's heard of.
And I posted that video because when she gave that scenario of a man taking care of his family and then leaving, it was very relatable for me. My man didn't leave me, but he does take care of his family. Hey, Mama. First of all, I want to make it very clear we did not meet up in person. Second of all, even though there was communication, I think there was a reason. I don't feel like this man is heard, and now I feel like he's being slightly bashed on the internet. And she might not be wrong for this. She might have a whole different image of what's going on. I'm not saying what he did is right. Everybody has different morals, but in my eyes, I saw it as something else that she probably doesn't see it as. What I saw was a man who was not heard, and he wanted to be heard and understood. He did mention multiple times that he did try to communicate these things, but obviously they weren't heard if I see that it's still going on. He didn't have to say that. There was also many comments that would say the things that he was feeling because it was just very obvious.
All right, man, I'm talking to you now. Don't ever use OF Girls as therapists, because clearly there is no therapist-patient privilege here whatsoever. Now, let's be real. OF Girls probably cost more, and you have the chance of having all of your dirty laundry aired out for the entire world to hear. Why, you may ask? Well, I guess for some basic level attention. Because my entire reaction to this video is, who asked? Why are you doing this? The gel lady didn't want to address this. And now this leech is inserting herself into the situation, airing out all the dirty laundry of the couple, and defending the husband in a way, which isn't defending him, by the way, because like she's just making him seem like an absolute clown. So congratulations to this woman for making a video that's just a net negative to society.
And while it did make the content good for y'all, if it feels emotionally or mentally exhausting for somebody, I would try to hear that out, because that might lead to other things that you don't want. After hearing this video, would it be worth twirling your whole family if he never did what you felt like in that scenario, leaving or cheating on you?
Again, who asked? Why is she making this video?
My opinion, if he was lacking in other areas of the home and didn't want to make content, okay, then what the hell? But if he is there for the children, if he is there for you, then if this is something you find enjoyable, and even if it's not enjoyable for you, but if it's something you're good at, I understand he's your partner. But notice how my house is getting trashed right behind me in less than 3 minutes. I do wish their family well. It's hurricane season. I want her to know her man loves her. He made that very known.
Doesn't sound like it. He used an OF girl as a therapist when he's married. Clearly, the wife didn't know about it, so this is essentially him just lighting the entire relationship on fire. You don't really need to be a rocket scientist to figure out, hey, if you can pay extra money to see your therapist naked, there's a massive problem there. But, unfortunately for everyone, she made a second video to clarify things.
My name is Shayla, and I'm in the industry, and it is quite literally my job to answer random unknown men. This particular interaction was a little different because it wasn't to fulfill a fantasy, it was more of a therapy session. They made it very clear how much they loved their wife, and eventually it came to light who they were because they told me who their wife was.
What an idiot, but I kind of want to know what his reaction was to see his OF therapist airing out all of his clownery for the entire internet to hear.
Which I have been following her for 2, maybe more years. Shortly after his wife found out, she did message me, but I chose not to answer because, one, this is not the first time that a wife has been mad, and I understand because of my job. And 2, I know you say things out of anger or being hurt. The only reason I decided to even reply to any of the chaos, I felt like I was being low-key bullied. The first thing I noticed is she mentioned multiple times that we should be the women that we would want our daughter to be. I have daughters, and she has a daughter too, but she never mentioned anything how to raise her son.
Again, this sounds like her choosing to take offense here. Like, no one would have ever known of this woman if she didn't just out herself out as being the home wrecker. Because she inserted herself into the situation.
Me and my man had an open relationship, which that came up in conversation with her husband when he was messaging me. So she would post things like this asking about basically open relationships. I just recently dyed my hair, but I did have black hair. So on the 20th, she said, change my hair, make him feel like he cheating. And now all of a sudden, everybody in the comments is saying something about my butt because I got a BBL. It might have something to do with the fact that 3 days ago, she said, it ain't perfect, but it's natural. That is the only reason I made a response. I am not saying that it was right.
Damn, girl, are you a YMCA member with all these gymnastics you're doing here? She should have just been honest and said, hey, this is the most exciting thing that's ever happened in my life, and I just couldn't not insert myself here.
For everybody assuming that I chased after a married man, like I said, I did not know who they were at first. I do have my own man, and everybody seems to think that they put 2 and 2 together, that I left him and our children. Or that he left us, which neither is true. We are still a happy family. But now that this is going viral, I've been getting threats and very mean comments. And now everybody talking about me for going after somebody's man, now they're going after my man. And these women that are saying they don't claim me as one of their own, saying that I have disgusting behavior, but are coming at me with threats and some of the nastiest comments, or name calling.
She literally brought this on herself, but clearly, like, she loves this because she followed up that TikTok with this.
Oh my goodness, I love this question. I think.
And remember, the Joe lady, she didn't want to address this, but with all of that we just saw, she was kind of forced to.
I had every intention of keeping the details of my marriage private. Yes, I did hint to you guys that I wasn't okay and my marriage wasn't okay. Did I share any details? No. And the reason I even let you guys in just a little bit was to show that I'm real with real problems. The last thing I want to be is a content creator who only shows all the perfect moments, because that's not real. And I wanted people to know if they're going through something, they're not alone. Now, with all that being said, there are a few things I would like to address. And then after that, you guys, I need to protect my peace and log off. Number 1, you guys will never catch me bashing my family on the internet. And whether my husband is my husband or my ex-husband, he is my family. Number 2, I have never in my life bullied or targeted somebody on social media. I did not make one post about this person. And majority of these posts that I made were before I even knew she existed. I had no idea that she had a BBL. I thought she looked natural. Good job. Your BBL looks very natural. Did I put on a black wig because of this person? No. Did I make posts about my daughter because of this person? No. Before I even knew she existed, I made a post on my Facebook that said, be the woman you want your daughter to be. And that was before I even knew she existed. I said that because I was going through something internally, and I thought to myself, how would I want my daughter to handle this as a woman?
Yeah, this is just a sad situation. Remember I said earlier this video is sadly just going to be a reminder that some people just suck. Because the only winner of this situation is the leech, because she got her tiny bit of attention, if you call that a win.
And that brings me comfort, because it helps me make a decision based off of how I would want my daughter to feel and how I'd want her to be treated. Now, when I found out about this person, I blocked her on social media. So the fact that she has been able to still screenshot all my stuff is very concerning to me. And the reason I blocked her was to protect my peace. I did not want to see anything she had going on. I didn't know if she had daughters, sons. I didn't know anything about her. And the last thing I want to address is this narrative that I forced my husband to make videos. I know that we've always had that role where he was annoyed and I was the one who enjoyed the videos. And that was agreed upon. Social media is bringing us in $20,000 a month. And that's aside from the business. And I've never put the numbers out there like that, but I need you guys to know that this provides for our family. This has made us debt free. This has made us financially free. I have never forced anybody to be in a video with me. And he even offered to continue making videos with me even if we're no longer together. And I respectfully declined. So am I this evil person that forced her husband into doing something he didn't want to do? No.
Yeah, I just feel bad for the gel lady. Like, obviously, I don't know how the inner workings of their relationship is, as it should be, I guess, other than what this guy's therapist has shared. But she does close out this video taking the higher road.
I have nothing against her. I'm irritated that I'm being lied on. I have nothing against her. None of this is her fault. What's going on in my life and in my marriage is not her fault. This is something me and my husband need to figure out. And I wanted so badly to keep so much of this information private, but I wasn't given that opportunity. But that's the life I chose, I guess. I love you guys, and for now, I need to log off.
And since then, she's been posting videos about how she's currently feeling and her current healing process, and out of nowhere, her husband decided to respond to all this publicly.
It's one thing to go on social media and tell them about your private life, especially when your partner that told you over and over about that. But it's another thing to tell me one thing, but let social media believe it's another thing.
Dude's had like 3 weeks to come up with something, and that's what he came up with. Well, he did also upload another video.
I don't care for it. So I was gonna be quiet about the whole situation. You know, I was gonna be the bad guy. But I'm not about to let a person who use me for their success, the whole marriage, run my name through the mud.
Dude, your therapist ran your name through the mud. But then he hasn't responded anymore, so I guess he's just leaving it at that. I don't know. Very sad, very confusing.
I'm gonna reveal and say that I've lost the case. I haven't lost the case. It's still ongoing, so don't listen to these really idiotic YouTubers.
Well, that didn't age well, but this is a self-proclaimed TikTok psychic, and what you did on TikTok will change your life forever. Because on November of 2022, a massive tragedy happened involving students from the University of Idaho. This became our TikTok psychic's moment to essentially ruin her own life. How? Well, by falsely accusing a professor, claiming that she had an affair with one of these students and was behind the tragedy.
I did a reading when I saw Rebecca Schofield on the History Department's page on Rebecca Schofield and her connection. I also did readings on some of the other people and their connection. What came out on their reading is how they responded to the crimes and how they were feeling about it. What came out in Rebecca Schofield's reading was how she implemented it, how she planned it, and why.
Why would she do this? We still don't know, because it doesn't make sense. The only conclusion I can really think of is attention, because she claims she's a psychic and that she solves crimes. But now, in reality, the court just deemed all this to be slander, and she's essentially lost everything in court. And she was given so many outs, but refused to take any of them and continued to double down over and over again when she received a cease and desist.
Like, I have physical evidence against Rebecca Schofield that validates everything that I've said about her, but I can't speak on it now because it has to wait for court. So hopefully court doesn't take too long.
That response is just so wild because it doesn't make sense. If you really have all this evidence and you're on this mission to expose the truth, why are you not sharing it with the world? Because you're being sued either way. But then to just make things even worse for herself, she follows up with these videos when the professor actually sues her.
Then again, people reading small corporations and giants and systemic policies and racism and they all regret coming against me. All of them. Now Rebecca is going to be added to the list of regretful people. I haven't been served yet, but I'm actually breathing with excitement. I am going to immediately start planning because I cannot wait to present my ideas in court regarding Rebecca Schofield and her role in the of the four University of Idaho students.
As the story plays out, we realize that she's all bark and zero bite. But if the situation can be even more insane, she decides to represent herself in court. Clearly, she's not a lawyer, so she was just absolutely doomed from the start. Ended up missing deadlines, which technically should have lost her the case because she didn't respond to the request for admission, which means the professor technically admitted to all the allegations. And to catch you guys up with all those, I'll have myself in the past explain those. And that is, admit that you have stated publicly that Rebecca Schofield had an affair with Kaylee. 2, admit that you have stated publicly that Rebecca Schofield was involved with what happened to victims. 3, admit that plaintiff did not have an affair with Kaylee. My understanding is plaintiff is Rebecca Schofield. 4, admit the plaintiff was not involved with Kaylee and the other victims. 5, admit the only basis of your statement that plaintiff had an affair with Kaylee is your spiritual research, intuition, and instincts. So I can't believe this is a real case. You would think this is a parody, but it's real because we're reading it together here. 6, admit that the only basis of your statement the plaintiff was involved of all the victims is your spiritual research, intuition, and instincts. 7, admit that you've never been to Moscow, Idaho. 8, admit that you've never been to the state of Idaho. 9, admit that you're not aware of any physical evidence linking plaintiffs to the 10, admit that you're not aware of any physical evidence showing the plaintiff had an affair with Kaylee. 11, admit that you never said plaintiff communicated with Brian C. Koberger about the until Mr. Koberger was arrested on or about December 30th, 2022. So she really was just clout chasing throughout this entire thing. This is such a brain dead grift on the TikTok psychics part because I mean, like, when updates happen to the case, she then did like psychic readings, I guess, and then she was like, oh, she was communicating with Mr. Koberger. Okay, well, good thing you said that after they arrested the guy. 12, admit that you've never said plaintiff had access to a white Hyundai Elantra until after law enforcement publicly stated they were looking for information about a white Hyundai Elantra in relation to the on or about December 7th, 2022. 13, admit that you've never communicated with Jack. That is a messed up one because I think I covered this in the first video I ever made on this situation. So here, Jack, if I remember correctly, is one of the close friends of one of the victims. This egotistical, moronic TikTok psychic decided to make a whole story claiming that this professor somehow forced Jack to go through with this horrific action. 14, admit that you have never communicated with Brian C. Koberger. That's the guy who's currently arrested for it, who they believe did this. But skipping through this a little bit, you have 21, admit that you have no written information showing the plaintiff ever met Jack. This is what I was talking about earlier, where she was claiming that the professor forced Jack to do the unthinkable. It's so wild. I mean, the whole thing is just so disgusting. I'm happy the professor is about to get justice as well. 22, admit that you've never received any information orally from another human being showing that plaintiff ever met Jack. 23, admit that you received and read a cease and desist letter from Stoll Reeves LLP dated, she basically proved that by posting this video.
I'm about to put this demand letter Rebecca Schofield attorney sent me by petition so I can wipe my with it.
And then the next are just like admitting to receiving a whole series of cease and desists. And then 30 is admit that you became aware of the press release describing the request for admission. You continue to state that the plaintiff was involved with the... So essentially, the police put out a statement saying, hey, we have no evidence that this professor did this. So she saw that and just continued making video upon video, still claiming the professor did this. But the judge seemed to be somewhat lenient with her and let her respond late. So the TikTok psychic decided to come back on her high horse.
I think this is how y'all want me to feel about me being at a $75,000 lawsuit that I'm gonna win. Oh my God. Rebecca is suing me.
But this lawsuit...
Not a millionaire right now? Well, the reason's pretty simple. It's because you don't have the right morning routine. You haven't optimized your day-to-day like all the other rich people in the world have. It's the only thing holding you back. All you have to do is follow what countless YouTubers have shown you for their morning routines, and you're guaranteed millions of dollars. I've clowned on rich people morning routine videos for years, and I will continue to do so forever because for some reason these fucking things are still popular. And it's always just the same garbage regurgitated over and over again like it's 2 girls, 1 cup. Get up at 4 a.m. You gotta be ready to grind. You gotta start your day while everyone else is sleeping. While they're snoozing, catching Z's, you're catching W's. 4 a.m. when even the Sandman is slumbering. You're doing 100 push-ups, then you drink a raw egg smoothie, then brush your teeth using coal instead of toothpaste, and rub powderized rhino horn on your nipples. Then like 50 other steps that take like 5 hours, and then by like 9 a.m. after you've done everything imaginable like it's a triathlon, then you start to maybe think about doing something productive. It's all just nonsense. Almost every single time these videos are just there to promote products. Usually they're sponsored videos, and they are always pushing a wide array of things that you'll never need. It's just because they get a kickback for it, like supplements or skin routines or hair shit, it's never like authentic. And today I want to show you one that I just saw from a YouTuber named Alex Costa, whose video was titled "The Morning Routine That Made Me Millions." So it leads people to believe that if they follow this, they might be able to start making some millions too, just because they're following a successful person's routine. I want to pop a quick addendum here, a little free pro tip. He's in New York for this, and making $1 million in New York is like making $20 just anywhere else in the country. $1 million in New York is maybe a 1-bedroom apartment, 100 rents just rent. So I'd wager a guess Alex Costa didn't make his millions through this morning routine in New York. And far be it from me to question the expert, but I don't think the morning routine was what was necessarily getting him all of that money. I can't do that. I didn't even realize I had the video set to 2x speed until right now when I was watching it back, and I thought to myself, something's gone awry. The music sounds like Stardew Valley if it was sped up. And then I went back to the video and realized I had set it to 2x speed. I don't even know when I did that. I must have just gotten real bored when I watched it the first time. Anyway, though, everything so far is just so normal. He gets up at 7 o'clock. That's like a reasonable time to get up. He splashes some water on his face. He puts on some deodorant. He makes the bed. Super simple stuff. At the very least, to Alex Costa's credit, he's not doing something over the top and ridiculous like, I get up at 5 a.m. and the first thing I do is I drive my monster truck through a fucking brick wall just to feel alive and start my day. Get used to seeing Forte. There's a lot of those products here, interestingly enough. Maybe in order to be a millionaire, you gotta start getting Forte products, I think is the message is trying to get across, as well as a perfectly positioned power crunch bar. But the keen eye, the astute observers may have noticed something fishy when it zoomed in on the power crunch bar. I actually don't think you would have seen this because I had it set to 2x speed when I was recording it. When I watched it at normal speed, you can see the clock on his iPad actually says 12:43. So he's just full of shit here that he's working by 7:30 a.m. That's a load of horseradish. Now, to give him the benefit of the doubt, perhaps it's all just a dramatic recreation of his morning routine. So for the sake of filming, he didn't actually do his normal morning routine for this. He helped elevate it with the filming, but normally he's working at 7:30 a.m. Or, to go even further, maybe he's just telling us about the routine that made him millions, and now that he's made millions, he doesn't follow this shit at all. Now he gets up at 12 o'clock, stumbles out of bed, morning wood, maybe busts a load into the toilet, and then starts his day kind of whenever he wants. That's certainly possible too. The big thing to remember when watching these videos is they're mainly there to sell you on either the products that are presented in them. This one is literally sponsored by something called Whoop, or they're there to sell you on an idea that they've made hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can't follow them. And in this case, it's both. It aims to do both. I would like for a really honest, rich person routine to come out at some point, like just some fucking absurdly wealthy person, like, hey, here's my daily routine. I wake up covered in shit and puke after last night's ayahuasca bender. Once again, it's not the time that he says it is. It's not 8:20 a.m. It's 1:28 p.m.
That skill's not ready.
There's like a whole minute worth of sponsored section, and I'm pretty sure that was the reason this video got made in the first place. He wanted it at slot with him, so he thought he'd just throw out a fucking morning routine video, and then he could also just cram it with products out the wazoo for like Forte and the meal prep plan and all of that. It's not a morning routine video. He is making a commercial, and people really think that this is what he does day to day. Forte is his brand, it's his products. In a shock to nobody. I'm sure you could kind of pick up on that. I'm sure you were able to sniff that out considering every fucking square inch of this video has some kind of Forte placement in it.